I want to start with you, Joe. Now, you've had a lot of what we call setbacks. You know, you grew up in poverty, you nearly died from a snake bite, and also from kidney disease.
Right.
How do you think these challenges have affected who you are?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I learned is that through life's most challenging situations, the love of God is always there. He's always there to bring you out of these situations if you just trust him. And so even when I didn't trust him, he actually was there for me. And so it put something in my heart to help other people. So now I feel like it's my duty to be a servant to the children and others in need.
And we're going to talk a lot about that today, but I want to go back to the beginning. Now, Denise, we just talked about setbacks, and there was a time when you had a financial challenge that was so great you had to move into a poor community.
Yes.
And I think what I think is very fascinating about your story is that this journey really started right at that moment with something as simple as you giving candy to a little girl. What happened?
Well, she came to the door and she wasn't speaking, and we didn't know why, or we didn't know why she wasn't speaking, but we found out later she was mute and she was deaf. But she looked so cute, and so I was like, oh, so I gave her some candy. I just went and gave her some candy because we didn't have much, but what we had, we'd like to give it. And so got the candy out. She loved it. It was so sweet to see her smile. That's pretty much what I did.
Now I hear she actually came back with some brothers and sisters and some friends. I guess the candy was so good, but she came back, and and once she came back, what happened?
Well, we found out there's about 50 children that lived on our street, and when you give candy to one child, even if she's deaf, all the other kids come back. And we just started loving on these children. Parents started dropping their children off at our home. We didn't know the parents or the children. I think they thought we had a daycare or something.
They would just flood in, and we could just sense that they were just hungry for love and attention, just basically. And so that's what we did. We tried to just give out.
You know, you did start with this one little girl. You gave her some candy, and now you're actually serving hundreds of people through Elijah's Heart. Tell us a little bit about Elijah's Heart and what you're doing, and what you're most proud of about Elijah's Heart.
Well, the thing I'm most proud of is that we're able to touch the fatherless. We're able to touch some of these children who people they either have forgotten about them or they don't know about them. And we go to communities that would be like 1,500 children, 2,000 children, and it's under-resourced neighborhoods. And we take supplemental food. We try to do things that we can in education, whatever we can do to help these children. So I'm just proud that we can serve these children in this way. But the greatest thing is that it's an example to other people, and people throughout our country and other countries can maybe follow, the footsteps of what we're doing.
Now, I have to ask you this question, because before we started this interview, you introduced yourself as Papa Joe.
Okay.
So you got to tell us, how did you get the name Papa Joe?
Well, Denise and I are musicians. We were asked to do a choir of children from the inner city, from the projects. And there's about 60 or 70 children there. And at one rehearsal, one Saturday morning, this little girl came to the rehearsal beaten by her mother, and her face was swollen. And so we prayed for the child and had to go take care of the situation. And when I got back to the rehearsal, the kids were kind of eating, and I had to go off to myself. Well, the child's little sister came up to me and said, "Will you be my daddy?" And this girl's like 7, 8 years old. And I thought she was just kidding with me. Well, another little girl heard her and came up to me and said, "Well, will you be my daddy?" So I thought they were kind of in cahoots together. Well, before I knew it, most of the choir was surrounding me. These dirty little project children were surrounding me, looking me in the eye saying, "Will you be my daddy?" And so I didn't know what to say. I just said, "Well, look, I love all of you guys." I went home and prayed, and I believe the Lord told me that day that you should be called Papa Joe. So I went back and told the kids, "You can all call me Papa Joe." So now everywhere I go, that's my name, honey.
Now, I read somewhere that your own father, you didn't have a very strong relationship with your own father. So how does it feel to go from that to now being a father to so many other children?
Well, what's interesting is when the little girl came up to me, she didn't ask for my qualifications. She didn't want to know, had I practiced being a father? Did I have a father? She just had the need of a father in her heart. And I know what that feels like, because my father left my mother when I was in the womb. And I didn't see my father from age 3 to age 22. So, you know, I could feel the little child's heart. And so the love of a father, I basically became a surrogate father, and we became surrogate parents to these children.
There's a movie now about your lives that depicts at least 90% from what I've understood
yeah,
of this journey that we've been talking about today. It's called Unconditional.
How many of y'all coming up without a father?
How are you doing all this, Joe?
It's amazing what happens when you just ask. Truth is, Denise came up with this whole thing. I'm just doing my part.
What would you like people to take away from the movie after they watch it?
Well, I would like them to feel activated, to just leave that theater feeling like I can make a difference in someone else's life as well. I can do this. I can take what little I have, and it can become someone's much, you know. It could become so much for someone. So I think that when they come out of this movie, they're going to feel motivated and activated to get out there and do something for someone else and to just show and share the love that they have that's in them.